Welcome to the continuation of our Foo series. For anyone that's been here, you'll obviously know that that means family of origin, but for anyone that doesn't or hasn't been here, obviously it means family of origin. We have a fantastic tree behind us now for our backdrop, which is really exciting. Just really gives a great visual to the whole series, which is really cool. So our beautiful tree, thank you to our creative team that put that together. It's fantastic. Tonight I get the privilege to just have a bit of a chat to you guys about part of the Family of Origin series. It's a bit of a two-part series between a two-part series. It's not. Anyway. There are like 8 or 9 weeks to this series, and this week and what's being presented next week are very similar. Okay, so we're going to be looking at values tonight, which is all about the root system of the tree. So like here down. But next week is more starting to look at the fruit of the tree, which is obviously from here up. So they're two different things, but they're very closely aligned. So there's going to be some things that I might touch on tonight that I'll sort of say that's going to be presented next week, but please bear with us because it's really important that we just sort of draw a bit of a line between the two of them and help you really understand the root causes first and then move on to the fruit, which is all your behaviours. So first things first, when we're talking about values, I think the most important question to ask before we start getting into what your values are, is actually, what are values, right? So anyone in the room want to take a couple of guesses at what it means to have a set of values or what is a description of a value? Mitch?
What it means to have values would be like a code to live by.
Code to live by, I like that.
It's stuff you believe in.
Stuff you believe in? Yeah, that you think is important.
Healthy relationships.
Healthy relationships, yeah.
Things that are close to your heart.
Things that are close to your heart.
To be true and loyal.
Ooh, true and loyal, yep.
Things that connect you to your family.
Yeah, absolutely. We are talking about family of origin, so that's really important. Anyone else want to jump in there? Cool, excellent, yeah.
This is just a joke with food.
Yay! You are correct. All of you touched on what a value is, and when we're looking at values, really the most important part I think to understand about that is where your values come from. And ultimately, I think someone said the word belief before, your values are really, really closely aligned to what you believe. So, as an example, you believe certain things as an individual, and I really hope I spelled this right, and that, your beliefs, what you believe in as a person, drives your values, okay? It would be really hard to value something if you didn't believe in it, right? Yeah? Right. And then your values, the things that you place value in, then create your acts or your behaviours, the way that you act as a person, right? So that might be, for all of us, they're going to be different. We each have something that we believe in or things that we believe in. That drives our values, the things that we place value in, and then that ultimately determines how we behave, things that we do, yeah? We each have different sets of those though, and I think that's really important. Tonight is about you. Tonight's not about me, tonight's not about the person next to you, it's about you. It's what you believe and what your values are. We're not going to do the action part, the behaviour part tonight, but that's all for next week. Does that make sense? Yeah, so we're really just looking at you and what you believe in and what you value. I've been doing some research the past couple of weeks about values because I, even for myself, wanted to learn a little bit more about where your values come from. And I found this fantastic model that really helped me understand where I draw my values from, and I think it's going to help you as well. So I'd like to draw it because I think that would be really helpful. When you're born, obviously you don't know stuff, you don't believe anything. Between the ages of 0 to 7, okay, is where you start to form your belief system or the things that you value. And that is called the imprint stage, imprint. So if you imagine, let's just like do a paw print, yeah? Imprint stage. 0 to 7, okay? So from when you're born to when you're 7 years old, you are imprinted on, I guess, from your parents and your immediate family. So you think about your mum, your dad, whoever your permanent carer was, and your siblings as well. They play an important role. And a lot of that happens between 2 and 4, but most of it happens between 0 and 7, okay? So that's a really important phase, and that's all about your immediate family, your parents, your siblings, etc. But by the time you're 4, this is an interesting fact, by the time you're 4, a lot of your programming is set, which I found fascinating. I was like, 4? Really? I can't remember when I was 4, so that's really scary. Up until the age of 7, parental influence. I want you to see if you can try and stay with me on that one. Once you are 8 to 13 is the next stage, and that's called the modelling stage. So I'm just going to have a little stick figure, and they're going to model. There we go. So these are parents down here. Hopefully you can all read my writing. Going well. Now this one is where you really start to form your own sense of self. You can kind of separate what your parents do, and you can kind of separate yourself a little bit and understand that you can behave differently to your parents. The other thing, so this is you start to sort of form your own. The other thing that plays a really important role is other adults in your world. So you think about how old you are now and that age group. Some of you will actually sit in that age group. You know, you might have a primary school teacher. Clearly, 8, you're in primary school. You might have a high school teacher as you start your early teens. You might have an auntie, an uncle. You might be thinking of people that when you were that age, they were really important to you. They played a really important role. And that influence of those adults in your world is huge at that age. It's massive. Now, I think about that for me, and I can recall names straight away just standing here of people that influenced my world that weren't my family in that age group. The third one is called the socialization. And that is 14 to 21. Now, I'll come back to you if you're over 21. Relax, you still exist. It's all good. This is social, right? So we're just going to have lots of stick figures. That's not a stick figure. But that's okay. You can't know what happened there.
What happened to that
What
one?
are they doing?
I've no idea. Okay? So we're going to call this your friends, right? Now, how many of you think that your friends have a massive influence in your world?
Yeah.
How many of you don't think your friends had a massive influence in your world? Okay. Okay. Often, I think, for me, I never thought my friends would influence me that much. But looking at this, I go, oh my gosh, that's a lot of years where peer influence was really important. If you sit in that bracket, you might be sitting here thinking that exact same thing. You're really concerned about what your friends are doing, how they're behaving, what they're up to, comparing yourself. Am I going to fit in? Am I like them? Am I not like them? I want to be part of my friendship group. I want to feel like I belong. Like there's a huge amount of emotion that goes on in those years, and it's connected to your social group. And that's actually where you're drawing your value system from. Here's where it gets really interesting. I can't believe I never changed colours.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
Can't change it.
21 and up, right? By the time you're 21, I'll come back to a disclaimer, but by the time you're 21, your set of values are instilled. They're there. Whether you like them or whether you don't, whether you even know what they are or whether you're not aware of them, all of your things that you value in your belief system are set in who you are. Now, the disclaimer to that is if that you have a traumatic event throughout your life, okay, so we understand trauma can definitely change us, or you have like a major life change, you know, maybe a midlife crisis, or I don't know, there's moments in your life that we recognise, and psychologists can recognise that if you have that event in your life, you might change course in your values or your beliefs. But most of your pre-programming, you know, you think about a game that you play, if you're a gamer, you think about any kind of program that's on a computer, it comes ready to go and you just install it, yeah? So at 21, your program is set. Now we'll come back to what you can do after you're 21 and realise maybe your program ain't so great. But I think that's really important to understand because I'm above 21. So if I think about my programming, it's set in place, yeah? So where do you fit in that scale? How many people are above the age of 21 in this room? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so there's 9. We've got 9 here.
Actually.
I should have counted me. That would have been helpful. Here we go. 10.
No, 11 then, because you didn't count him.
So I'm sorry.
How dare you forget?
Who's 14 to 21?
Me, but
Wow! Let me quickly count that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Okay. There's like 35 of us. Okay. 18 to 13. 18 to 13. 8 to 13, where are you? We have no one who's 8 to 13.
12 and 13.
Anyone who's 12 and 13 in this room?
No.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Technically, how many
usually we do.
I'm 13, 14.
Hey, we got one! You get to sit over here on your own. How cool is that?
Good model.
He's still modeling.
That makes me influence.
So, if you think about everyone in this room, your parental influence in your values and beliefs is pretty much done. The things that you learn in your belief system, your values is set. For most of us in this room, again, without the exception of the one, the modelling stage of influencing from other adults in your world is pretty much over in terms of setting your beliefs and your value system. So we're all being influenced by our friends, this whole room. Are drawing on your friendship group and your peers around you. The average of the 5 people you hang around the most. That's where we're getting our values from at the moment. How cool is that? So, we're going to move on to the next part, but I want you to remember where you sit, yeah?
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious. Because like all of us are in the one bucket. Most of us anyway. I can't believe I used red because red doesn't come off very well. Oh, yes! No. There's stuff on the other side.
Spray in there.
It won't take me long, I promise. Okay, that's good enough. Okay, when I started thinking about this system and my values, I thought about noughts and crosses. Okay? The noughts and crosses, everyone, tell me, no one here has not played noughts and crosses. Everyone's played noughts and crosses? Okay, so you have, when you draw noughts and crosses, you basically do 4 big lines, yeah? Like that. So when it comes to your value system, there's limited spots available. We don't value everything. Imagine a world where we valued everything. It would be really difficult, right? So you only have, let's say you only value your core beliefs, your core values, you only have 9, right? Some of those that you got from your parental influence, from adult influence, or from your peers might be really awesome, love heart, awesome values, yeah? Others might not have been the greatest, not so good. See the game of noughts and crosses we're playing here?
We can't see.
Oh,
We really can't.
someone give me some good textures.
No, that was the best
It's the
of
red.
time.
Big red, red or black.
Oh, there we go. That's a love heart. That's a cross. There's green lines that you can't see. There's another cross over here, and there's a love heart. Anyway, the point is
Oh, love hearts are gonna win.
that you have a set of values instilled in you already. We're still working on that. We're still adding to that from our social circle. But some of this, you've only got 9. Some of them are going to be great. Some of them aren't going to be so great. When I think about mine, I have noughts and crosses. I have some that are really good and maybe some that aren't. The other thing is that in my experience, and this might be the same for you, is that sometimes there's gaps. When I got to 21, 22, 23, I realised that my upbringing had gaps. There were certain things that I wasn't taught how to value well. And then when we start to look at how these values impact the way that we operate as a person, how we behave, the things we do, the things we say. Thank you so much. That's next week, yeah? We're going to actually look at how your programming affects your behaviour. We're going to look at that next week. But one of the things that I'd love to help all of us understand tonight is how does the value system that's already pre-programmed into you affect you today? And before we can look at the behaviour, before we can look at the impact, before we can look at the result of that, we have to first figure out what that is. Can anyone in this room honestly put their hand up and say, I know exactly what I value today, and I know why, and I know where it came from? Great, so that was nobody, right? Or one hand, all right? So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a couple of leaders to hand out a piece of paper and a pen to all of you, right? And we're going to actually play noughts and crosses.
That was good catch. Nice throw. For you.
Well, I have this pen.
Can I give you one?
Oh my god, that was great. Sorry.
Please don't write on your piece of paper yet. Write your name. Please don't write anything else other than your name.
Write your name, write your name. Oh, yes.
Alright, you ready?
There, we're past the man. Oh, got one.
What do you say?
That's
Anyone missing a piece of paper? Anyone?
Don't write this, okay? Don't write this.
Anyone need a pen?
Okay, good. I need to
I didn't get one.
Don't write this. Okay, ready? Let's do this. Each of you have a noughts and crosses page, okay? What I want you to do is we're first going to think about the imprint stage of parental and immediate family influence. I want you to start thinking about those people for you, okay? What I want you to do is I want you to pick 3 names. And in the first 3 boxes, down the left-hand side, I want you to write their name. So this, if this was me, I would put their name here. Right, that's mum and dad for me. If I could spell my mum's name. That would be good, right?
Like mum or the actual name?
You write their actual name, which is why I wrote their actual name. Yeah? Think about your parents and your siblings. If you've got more than 3, just pick 3. If you've got less than 3, that's okay too. Right? But down this left-hand side, I want you to write the name of those people that were either your parents, your guardians, or your siblings.
Can they be someone they had a bad experience with in those?
Yes, they can be bad, they can be good, it doesn't matter. It's just the people that had the most influence in you between 0 to 7. Yeah? Does that clarify things? And I'm just going to choose someone as well. There we go. I've done mine. I've done mine, right? In the second 3 boxes, I got that right. That's the modelling stage, okay? So that's other adult influences, teachers, aunties, uncles. A lot of us have, you know, a really cool auntie or a really cool uncle, teachers that had a big influence in our world. I want you to think of 3 people when you were 8 to 13 that you felt like had a big influence on your life. Now remember, it could be positive, could be negative, it doesn't matter. It's 3 people in that age bracket for you when you were that old who influenced you the most. Might be a tricky one, this.
Yeah, I can't remember the deck.
That's, what grade is that? Well, 13's year 7. So, grade 3 to year 7, somewhere there? Grade 3 to year 7? This isn't about whether you were friends with them or not. These are the people that influenced you. It might not have been a good experience, but this is about who impacted or influenced your world the most to that age. Yeah, teacher. It can be a teacher. I would avoid that.
Hey, question.
Can be friends.
Yeah. Cool? And then, if you can't think of anyone, try and put at least 1 name in that section and then move on to the next one. So now think about your social circle. 14 to 21. 3 people.
Teachers in there as well.
This one's more teachers
Yeah,
here.
but like if you're over 13.
You can put teachers here as well. Yep, that's totally cool. But this is more about your peers, people your age, people that you're friends with, people that you interact with a lot. And that's, for a lot of us, that's current. For some of us that are over 21, but 14 to 21, peer influence at that age. You can write similar people, but I would try and avoid writing the same person all the way through.
What about I'm not even in that area.
That's okay, you're the only one.
What do I do?
It's just you, bro. You hang out all on your own. You're not there yet. You
Alright.
still have plenty of
I
time.
got a money.
Yeah.
Yes, quite close.
Oh, over there. Oh.
I didn't have things right.
Right. Are we done? Cool. Now, somewhere on your page, maybe even on the back, might be a better idea. You can put it to the side if you want, but some people are really picky about not writing these in the boxes. So just wherever you feel like you can fit it on your page. Don't worry about names for now. All I want you to think about is what you currently value today. Some of you might have a big list. Some of you might have a small list. But I want you to think about things that you value today. If you struggle, think about things you believe in. Because remember, you get your values from your beliefs. Yeah? So if you can't figure out what to write, think about what you believe in. But I want to maybe get 10, if you can find 10 things that you value currently. 5 to 10 would be good, yeah? You might value money because you think money is awesome and it gives you opportunities and it buys you things.
I've got them.
You might value friends because you think friends are awesome and you really like hanging out with them. You might value your job because it's a sense of security and it's a place you belong.
Friends are family.
You might value your actual family because they're really awesome and you love hanging out with them. You might value adventure because you're an adventurous kind of person and that's things that you value. Have a think about it and write down 5 to 10 things that you value. Every couple of minutes, try not to talk to the person next to you unless you need to clarify something. Things that you value. You can look up examples on Google if you feel like you need to do that. Things that you value currently. You should have at least 5. If you can get to 10, that would be really amazing.
How do you spell affection? Affection.
You might have a particular religion or belief system. That would be important to write down because it's something that you believe in that drives your value system. The cult. You can grab another pen. Ebony's got some over there. You might value music because it just fills your day with joy every single day. I don't know. Whatever you value. This isn't about the person next to you. This is about you or you believe in what you value personally. You might value contribution. You're all hanging out in a charity. Like, hello. You're all obviously very generous people. Just trying to give you guys ideas, yeah? Is there anyone that hasn't got 5 yet? Okay. I'll give you a couple more minutes. Definitely value. Then we're going to land this bad boy. Integrity is a good word.
I had 11. Yeah? I don't know. Got one. I wrote
Emily.
Alright, here we go. This is the bit where we land the plane, right?
Landing a plane.
For me, right, there are 3 words or 3 things that I know that I value, right? I've got lots of things that I value, but I know 3 of them. I'm going to connect the dots for you. The first one is hard work. When I see people being lazy, not doing a lot, sitting around, fluffing around, not working hard, there's something that rises up in my gut that's like, that's not right. People should learn how to work hard. That's not right that people sit around and do nothing. This is life. You should be out there enjoying it and working hard and reaping the rewards of that. There's something in my gut that just churns around. And I've recognised that I have a huge value for hard work. And if I draw from hard work, if it's up here, it's one of my values, and I draw right down to the bottom of the root of the tree, I can connect the dots between hard work and my parents. And the reason for that is that when I was 0 to 7, I didn't go to school. So I spent a lot of time at home with mum. And dad was always off working and mum was always working on the farm. So I was watching her cook and clean and look after animals and run a vegetable garden and do all the farm things that were required. Every single one of us in our family, including my parents, they modelled to us what it means to be hardworking. And I know that I have an impeccable character when it comes to hard work today as a result of the way that I grew up. Because it was modelled to me. Every single day of my life until the age of 7, I watched my parents and my siblings work hard. Make sense? Yeah. A second value that I have, and you can use a lot of different words for this, but I'm going to term it grace. You know, when somebody doesn't get something right, we give grace for people, yeah? Because we're all humans and we're not perfect. One of my experiences in 8 to 13 was when I finally went to school. I was in a classroom with a homeroom teacher, and her name was Marion Spencer, and unfortunately she has passed away since then. But she was the most gracious teacher on the planet. And the reason why I say that is because I was the most frustrating student on the planet. I didn't know 2 plus 2, I couldn't write my own name, I had no freaking clue what I was doing, and I was in a classroom full of 25 other people, and she still had the time of day to sit with me and explain things and pretend I wasn't stupid and spend effort and give me the grace and the time and just the attention to help me when I needed it the most. I couldn't spell anything, I couldn't do anything in the classroom, I didn't even know what a bloody keyboard was. She would sit with me and she would say, "That's okay, I know that you don't understand, but this is how I'm going to help you." Most gracious person I think I've ever met. And I recognise that sometimes when my friends and people around me today don't get it right, I have an incredible ability to just be like, you know what, that's okay. Because somebody else modelled to me what it meant to be gracious. If we look at I'm going to go in the same category. There's another teacher that had a big influence on me in my high school journey when I first started high school. Again, I feel like I'm still behind the 8 ball, not very educated. And one of the teachers there, her name was Steph, she was an incredible encourager. And every single time I would ever have a conversation with that person, all she would do is encourage me. "Don't worry about it, you're awesome, I believe in you, you can do it, you're amazing, of course you're going to be able to achieve that." Just encouragement, and like a blanket of encouragement. That's all she ever said to me. And as a result, I've learned how to be encouraging of other people because it was modelled to me before I even understood what was really happening. So what I'd love for you to be able to do, and what we might do tonight is actually do impacts rather than now. But I'd love for you to start having a look at your list of things that you value today and think about whether you could match those values to some of the names in those boxes. Because I can look at all of these names in my below 21 and I can see that those people taught me something, that I drew some kind of value system or some kind of belief from them. They helped me in some way. These aren't just people that I met. These are significant individuals that played an important part in my world. And for you, you've probably done the same. You've written down names of people that they might not have, you might not have thought it, and before tonight you might not have even thought that they played an important role. But as you remember back, all of a sudden you're realising that maybe they helped you a little bit more than what you thought. Now the opposite is also true. Some of these experiences weren't the greatest with some of these people. And it could be a negative value that you hold as a result of the person and their modelling. Okay, so it doesn't just, I've done positive examples in mine, but there could also be negative ones. And the important part in that is to simply accept that that was the case. That before 21, that's been modelled to you and maybe that's a value that you hold as a result. Doesn't mean that you can't change it though. And the first step to change is awareness, and you can't choose to change it if you don't know about it. So if you've recognised a negative value, Again, we're doing behaviours next week, but if you've recognised a negative value system, then maybe that's something you can have a chat to your pack leaders about. But I would strongly, strongly encourage all of the pack leaders tonight to help connect the dots, because for me, this was life-changing when we did the Foo series a couple of years ago. Life-changing. Like, changed me and how I operate, because I was able to recognise my gaps. I was able to recognise what I missed out on. And I was able to pull some of the really great things that I value from people that I didn't even recognise taught me that. And it literally changed the way I see me, and it changed the way I see my world. And finally, as I finish up tonight, I really want to encourage you. Values isn't something we think about every day. Like, we all get up, eat breakfast, we go and do our thing, we try and enjoy life, we go through challenges, it's up and down, we hang out with people. There's a lot that goes on in our day, but we don't necessarily think about the things that we value and how that impacts it. But this is exactly what the Foo series is about. It's about recognising how we have grown up and how that affects us today, and part of that is the things that we value. And I wanted to finish tonight, normally I would finish this kind of section with some form of action. You know, take this away, take that away, take this step. Tonight the step is your packs, just joining the dots, okay? Between the people in your food and the values that you hold. That's all I'm asking. I'm not going to give you another action, but one thing I do want to encourage you on is how powerful your values can be. And this quote for me summed it up perfectly. It's a bit funny, but it summed it up for me perfectly. Values are like fingerprints. Nobody's are the same, but you leave them on everything you do. Yeah? So your values are in every part of your life. Every part of your life. They determine how you act as a person, which again we're covering next week. They determine what you choose to spend your money on, what you choose to spend your time on, who you choose to hang out with. They impact everything. And they all start from all the way back here. And if we take the time, like I have, I can honestly say I feel like I've done that. I've taken the time to look at the influences in my life, whether that was good, whether that was bad, and where the gaps are. And over the probably a course of 4 or 5 years, I challenged the crap out of myself to figure it out and work it out. And I feel like I'm a better version of me because I figured this out. And if you can simply do that tonight, just be aware of that, it will transform your life. It's changed mine, and I so hope that you can take that away and that it changes yours. And PAX is the perfect place to do that, because when I turned 17, I started at Bridge Builders, and when I took on my Foo series, I was probably 20, 21, and I spent the time, I took the time here in a safe space to figure it out.
At the end of social.
At the end of social, yeah? They're like fingerprints. Nobody's are the same, which I think is true, but you leave them on everything that you do. Namaste.
Good job.
I have 18 on my list.
Go back. That's the end.